Hello everyone, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're taking a look at a series that I haven't done in a while. It's actually one of, if not the first, videos that I did on YouTube, looked at the game Panzer Corps. And in this video, I'm actually returning to Panzer Corps, because there's some new news that's come out recently. First of all, this video footage you see here, as has been the case for most of the footage you've seen lately, was taken from a live stream on Thursday. I live streamed for about, actually it would have been, Wednesday. I live streamed for about 4.5 hours and returned to Panzer Corps and had a good time doing it. We fought through Poland, we fought through France, we fought through Norway, both French operations, and then in the stream ended last night, or this morning, I guess, we fought the Greek-Yugoslavian campaign. So I'm having a lot of fun returning to Panzer Corps. It's a game that I hadn't really felt the need to play a lot lately, if I'm being totally honest. It's one of those things that Order of Battle Pacific, to me, kind of surpassed Panzer Corps in terms of gameplay and game design and challenge and uniqueness. But the reason I returned to Panzer Corps is because of an announcement that was made just a few days ago by Matrix and Slitherine Games. And that announcement is the fact that they're making a new Panzer Corps game. They announced Panzer Corps 2, which will be coming out in 2018, so not this year, not till next year. They're announcing it quite a ways in advance, which is actually kind of refreshing. I don't think a lot of war games do that. I know they've kind of been doing that with the combat mission, or not combat mission. They've been kind of doing that with the close combat series with Matrix and Slitherine as well. And they've done that a bit with Carrier Deck also. But in general, they tend not to announce their games too much in advance. And sometimes it's hard to figure out what's going on because no one tells you what's coming. And it's out before you even have time to hear about it. So that's exciting on the one end. The other end is kind of where this video is going to talk about. Is I'm a little bit hesitant about this. I was a big Panzer Corps fan. I still enjoy the game. I think you'll see that, the fact that I streamed for over 5 hours between the last two days playing Panzer Corps tells me that this series is not yet exhausted in terms of my interest or fascination with it. So that definitely indicates that, to me, Panzer Corps is alive and well, and it's something that I think still can hold its own. I'm a little hesitant about this news. And the reason I'm hesitant is because I feel like Matrix and Slitherine just came out with Panzer Corps. And I know, what was the original? I think the original launch date on Panzer Corps was actually 2014. So by the time this comes out, there will have been 4 years between Panzer Corps and the sequel. But let's remember, 2014 is when it came out. I want to say the last expansion was either the Soviet Corps or Allied Corps came out just last year. It might have been the year before, but it's still much more recent because they came out with all this DLC over a really extended period of time. Panzer Corps was 2014. Panzer Corps Africa came out shortly thereafter. Then you had all of the grand campaigns. You literally had like 15 scenario packs that they sold. They came out with Soviet Corps, Allied Corps, all of this additional content, which is great and fit really well, but it's very recent still, and so it doesn't feel to me like they need a sequel. That's only a minor hesitance. That's okay, well, it hasn't been that long. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would lose their shit if Crusader Kings stopped its DLC and in 2 years they came out with a new Crusader Kings game. I mean, people would lose their shit. There'd be a lot of people really excited about it. So that's not too concerning. But one piece that is a little bit, again, it's not concerning. It's just, I don't know how they're going to do it, is Order of Battle Pacific. Specifically, actually, Order of Battle. Because Order of Battle originally came out as a really unique turn-based game that looked at the Pacific theater in World War II. But it was basically Panzer Corps in the Pacific with some enhancements. It felt very much like Panzer Corps. It didn't feel like a reskin, though, because the game played completely differently. Order of Battle Pacific introduced things like front lines, which, as you can see here in Panzer Corps, there are no front lines. You can move wherever, you can resupply wherever, as long as you're not adjacent to an enemy unit and surrounded, you can basically resupply. Well, Order of Battle introduced the need for supply. So that was one big difference between Panzer Corps and Order of Battle. And it was a big difference because it really controlled how you played the game. When you don't have front lines like you do in this scenario that you're looking at where I'm attacking Poland, you do play differently than when you do have front lines. And when different cities provide different levels of supply comes in on the map, there's different factors that come into play, it really makes the game a different game. And that's important when you think about creating a Panzer Corps 2. It's really important that the games stand out because Order of Battle Pacific felt like an improvement upon Panzer Corps. They're both turn-based strategy war games. They're both abstract in the sense that you have units representing tanks and aircraft moving around on the map with a 1 to 10, hit point ratio. You hover the mouse over to get an estimate on the casualties. You use artillery in the same way where you can, move your artillery, fire on the enemy to suppress them, to get combat benefits. The combined arms and kind of puzzle use of aircraft and tanks and infantry all mesh really well to make a turn-based strategy game that is very much a puzzle game, but it's a lot of fun. Well, Order of Battle Pacific really felt like it was a iteration on that. You did have the supply lines and supply, so that was different. But again, similar concepts. There's some differences. You have max numbers of units based on unit types versus just total max number of units. Panzer Corps gives you up to a certain number of core units. Order of Battle allows you to have a certain number of land units, air units, naval units. But that doesn't really change the style of play so much as it changes kind of the makeup of your forces. The other big piece that really changed how you played the game and also made Order of Battle really stand out was the fact that when it first came out, it was a Pacific theater war game. It was a war game that was basically Panzer General in the Pacific. And that makes the game very different. When you're conquering islands as opposed to racing halfway across Russia, those are two very different styles of play. When you're limited to an island with Guadalcanal and naval forces now play a big role in how the game plays, then again, it's a very different game, and it plays very differently. So these two games coexisted really well in the Matrix and Slitherine game catalog, and they really are games that I highly recommend. If you like one, try the other, but they're not games where I'd say, if you have one, don't bother getting the other. They're very different in my opinion. And by the way, I think the Matrix is running some sort of Steam sale right now, so it might be worth checking those out if these are games that interest you, but you haven't picked them up. But where I get concerned is with the whole idea around having a Panzer Corps 2. Now, they've announced the game will be on Unreal Engine 4, and it will be fully 3D. So I don't know what that means, other than maybe the maps will look a little bit prettier, maybe the images on the screen, your tanks or whatnot, will look prettier. They've mentioned that there will be hundreds of units on the map at any one time, which there's some battles in the Russian campaigns that you could probably get around 100 units. Maybe, I'm not really sure. I know Barbarossa is Germany. You can bring in 28 units. You get some stock units on the map, so maybe you get to around 40. The Russians have around 40. So if they're saying hundreds, I mean, maybe they're increasing the scale to be much larger and more epic scenarios. I'm not sure. One of the things that kind of bugged me about Panzer Corps was kind of this constrained feeling with the maps. Maybe somehow with the new game engine and the new modes, they'll be able to make it a bigger experience. I don't know what that means for iPad availability. Panzer Corps was one of the first games, if not the first, that Slitherine really championed this whole cross-platform experience where if you have iPad and you have a computer player, they can play by email against each other. So that's really kind of another sort of innovative thing that this Panzer Corps brought to the marketplace. But I don't know what's going to be different about Panzer Corps 2. And I'm not saying that I'm not excited. I guess if I had to say, it would be on my top 5 list of most anticipated games of 2018. Part of that's because we don't know much about what's coming out in 2018 yet. It's only March. But my concern is more along the lines of just how they intend to stand out. Because Order of Battle originated in the Pacific and had all those unique elements. But they've slowly migrated it into becoming a truly Panzer Corps sequel. they moved to have the winter war scenarios of Russia versus Finland. They're in the process of doing a Kriegsmarine scenario, which is going to be obviously, a battle of the Atlantic, basically. So I'm not sure. Again, the idea of focusing on naval combat in the Atlantic is very alien to Panzer Corps, but they also have Panzer Corps Blitzkrieg. Or sorry, they also have Order of Battle Pacific, or Order of Battle Krieg, or oh my god, I can't speak. They also have Order of Battle Blitzkrieg. An Order of Battle Blitzkrieg is a DLC to Order of Battle, and it includes the battles for Kiev, Smolensk, Minsk, Moscow, these, huge Russian campaigns. They've got Greece, Yugoslavia, Denmark, Belgium, Norway, Warsaw. They have the first 12 scenarios basically right there of the Panzer Corps campaign. One of them I'm playing in front of you is from Panzer Corps itself, and it's the original invasion of Poland, but this is in Order of Battle within the Order of Battle engine. I haven't actually played Order of Battle Blitzkrieg. I should probably give it a go. But it just feels like, okay, I mean, it was only a DLC. It only covered a handful of scenarios, but I don't know where that innovation is going to be. You're going to have to do more than just provide prettier imagery on the screen to stand out. And what I worry about is Matrix pouring all these resources into a game to make it 3D and make it look pretty, and at the end of the day, the gameplay ends up just being a rehash of what they've already done. I mean, I know there's only so much you can change and tweak. A lot of these Panzer General type clones, because Panzer General was, the 1994 classic that a lot of these kind of view themselves to be. Slitherine and Matrix, they're not the only ones developing these kind of odes to the past. There certainly have been other ones out there. I can't remember if Blitzkrieg is one, but there's been a bunch of these other games out there made by other studios as well. That I just worry from a business perspective, because I do tend to look at things from a business perspective. I hope they're not diluting their product in themselves and pouring resources down a rabbit hole that may not yield much, because Panzer Corps, when it came out 2 years ago, by all means was a very big success for them. At least everything they've said. They indicated it sold over 200,000 units. I don't know if that means DLC combined with the regular game or if it just means the regular game, but they've certainly indicated this was a big success for them. And if they're investing as if this next game is going to be just as successful, I think that's always a little bit of a risk, especially when a game kind of catches you by surprise and is more successful maybe than you thought it would be. To anticipate that it will be just as successful does carry some inherent risk, I believe. But it's not that I have any vested interest in them doing well, other than the fact that, I'm a war gamer, you're a war gamer, we're all war gamers, so it's best for us if they don't screw up and they make good quality games, and that allows them to continue making good quality games. But I just wonder what's the impetus for this? What's the need for this? What's the driving factor behind this? Was there really an outcry, an outpouring for a new version of Panzer Corps, even though Order of Battle has really become that? I mean, if you were to say what is their stable, I'd say 2014 they released Panzer Corps. 2015, late 2015, they released Panzer Corps 2, which is what I'm going to call Order of Battle, Pacific. Although, like I said, there were some unique pieces to it that made it stand out. But basically, you're releasing Panzer Corps 2 in spirit, and Panzer Corps 3 all within a 4-year period. Seems a little bit rash and reckless. I hope I'm wrong. I guess time will tell, and we'll find out next year. I want to like the game, but again, I think these kinds of games are probably best avoiding trying to follow the AAA model where you release a sequel every year. Especially on games like this where there's kind of more of a paradox model with a very heavy DLC component, which both Panzer Corps and Order of Battle have had. Very heavy DLC components, which I'm completely fine with. But again, if you're going to go really heavy DLC, I think the requirement has to be that you wait a little bit longer between development cycles and not develop a new game every year or every other year, especially when some of these expansions that they've released for Panzer Corps are quite substantial. You know, there's one that lets you play as the Soviets during the whole war. That's a big expansion. That's a big deal. That's a whole nother game. That's basically the original Panzer Corps times 2. So they've got like 4 of those games built into this now. And, you know, to have a year or so pass, I guess by then 2 years pass between the last DLC and the new game is, I suppose, reasonable, but not, again, if the stable continues to hold Order of Battle alongside. So at the end of the day, I'd like to see them implement some things like front lines, like Order of Battle has, but I'm just kind of curious how they're going to differentiate themselves from themselves. I know the developer is different, but a lot of these games look and feel and play almost identically. So it will be interesting to see how this all plays out. I'll stop repeating myself now at this point and just say that I hope it's a good game. I certainly don't ever wish that bad games get made. I hope it's a good game. I hope it's able to provide value and that we all see the value in it. But I'm not skeptical. I'm concerned. So I don't know. I guess what I'm interested at this point to hear is what you guys think. I mean, this is kind of my perception and my rambling, but I'm just one schmuck on the internet who's playing games, and you guys seem to enjoy watching me play, and I appreciate that. But all I am is one guy. You know, I'm not a game development expert. I'm not someone who's been in the industry. Matrix and Slitherine obviously have a lot more experience in that than me. So one would assume that they know what they're doing. But you know, you the consumer also drive whether this will work or not. So with that all being said, I'm going to pose this question to you. In my chat, you know, in the discussion below in the chat, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Is this something you're excited about? Is this something you want to see? Is this something that you think is too soon? Do you have the same concerns I have, or do you think I'm, you know, overreacting a bit and that this will all be great and at the end of the day everyone will be thrilled? Yeah. So why don't you guys let me know that in the chat below, and I'll try and keep up and respond with all of you. Meanwhile, as I said, this is Panzer Corps taken from a live stream just a couple days ago. I'm playing through the original or the initial Poland scenario in which you drive on Warsaw by taking Krakow and Lutz, and then, you know, I continue on for another 4 hours or so after this. What I'd like to know, Panzer Corps, my review of Panzer Corps, as bad as that was, is my second most successful video. I think actually most successful? I'm not sure. One of my 2 most successful videos. The other one is Battlefield, World War II Europe Battlefield, something like that, the kind of free-to-play FPS. Is this something you guys want to see more of? I had some great interactions in the stream. A lot of people showed up to watch it. I was kind of surprised given how old the game is and kind of the fact that I hadn't put much content out for it recently. But I never did a full Let's Play or playthrough for this game on my channel. I did a couple videos here and there. I kind of started one and then stopped. And I guess what I'm asking you guys is this something that you'd like to see more of? Because I've got plenty of footage. I can probably talk about historical World War II topics, more specific maybe than Strategic Command. I still have Strategic Command footage I want to get to, and I want to continue that series as well. But given that I have played a ton of Panzer Corps lately, given that it is in the news and there is another one coming, and given that it has been well received in the past, I'm kind of inclined to do a little bit of work with these and put these together. And see what you guys think as far as, you know, including this as a piece of the channel moving forward. I'm not abandoning Order or Ultimate General, not in any way. I just have been really busy with school lately and work lately. It's finals right now, so I haven't had the chance to get around to recording that next episode of Ultimate General, mainly because I wanted to talk more history, and those take a little bit more time to prep for than something like this that I can just kind of start recording and start talking about, you know, pretty much on a whim. And you know, Matrix gave us some topics to talk about. With that being said, that's probably enough of me rambling here at this point. So I'm going to go ahead, and I know we're mid-scenario here, but I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Just let me know your thoughts below. Do you want to see more Panzer Corps? You know, is this not really something that interests you, given the game is 4 years old? And in addition to that, what are your thoughts on Matrix's announcement? What are your thoughts on this game coming out in a year? And one other thing I will point out is the game is apparently using a different developer. So The Panzer Corps game you're seeing here was made by the Lords Game Studios. I believe they announced that the new Panzer Corps is going to be made by a different company. They're called Flashback Games, and they actually did the Warhammer games. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, Flashback also was involved in the Panzer Corps you're looking at here. I always thought it was just the Lords Games studio, but apparently they kind of collaborated on it. So I guess I was wrong there. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see how this all turns out, and I'll look forward to seeing everybody's thoughts below. But that's enough of me, again, continuing to ramble and repeat myself. I always say that, and then I end up keep doing it. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Let me know if you want to see this series continue. And until next time, guys, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out. Oh, by the way, in general, I'm in a little bit more of a World War II mood lately because I've actually been reading Max Hastings' book called Inferno. I may end up doing a book review on that. It's very much a pop history, and it's a quick kind of summary look over World War II, although he does focus on some topics that are a little bit less commonly talked about. He has some interesting perspectives, for example, on the French in World War II after the conquest of France. And in general, it's just kind of an interesting, very, very well-written book. High praise for him as an author. He spins a very good yarn. So I may end up doing a book review for that. If not, I've just become in a bit of more of a World War II in Europe mood, specifically the Russian front. So look for a little bit more World War II content on the channel, as that's definitely been something I've been inspired to play and read a little bit more about lately. Anyway, guys, again, for the second time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.